We work hard as physicians to take care of the health and well-being of our patients. But when it comes to our money, do we have the same condition of care? Probably not. Let's change that together. Welcome to the Financial Freedom for Physicians podcast, where we'll fight and advocate for your financial literacy. As always, I'm your host, Dr. Christopher Liu. Thanks for being here. Let's jump into the show. Hey guys, I want to welcome you guys to the Financial Freedom for Physicians podcast. We've got a great episode this week. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button as well as the notifications bell, and be sure to like, comment, and share if you like this episode. And we'll get into this week's sponsor and show. This week's episode is sponsored by CityVest. CityVest has quickly become the most popular and best way for doctors to invest in top-performing real estate private equity funds that are usually reserved for institutional investors. This unique access to investing in these institutional funds is available for the first time ever through CityVest's easy and secure online investment platform. CityVest does the hard work of conducting due diligence and vetting the investments. They even get a third-party due diligence report that is posted on their website. As a result of aggregating a several million-dollar investment amount into their access funds, CityVest gains access to investing in the institutional investment and is able to negotiate better investment terms such as a 12% preferred return. You can check them out at cityvest.com or go to the link in the show notes below. Now on to the show. So welcome everybody to this week's podcast episode for the Financial Freedom for Physicians podcast. And I'm your host, Dr. Christopher Liu. And my mission is to empower the high income professional to achieve financial freedom, financial independence through various means. And we tout 4 types of freedom. So financial, emotional, time, and location freedom. And I'm always on the cutting edge, looking for people that are doing novel and interesting things and trying to bring you the best opportunities and information to you so that you can make the best decisions. In the news lately is a lot of like crypto, NFTs. And when physicians hear about this, they just immediately shut down and think scam, etc. So I bring experts in this field. So today we have Blake Templeton, and he is the founder and the CEO of Boron Capital, which is a crypto hedge fund. He got his start in with the real estate market and is now in this exciting space. So I'll let him introduce himself, tell him about his story, and we'll go from there. So Blake, welcome.
Hey, Christopher, I'm so glad to be here. Guys, I am really stoked right now because if there was ever a time for us to actually, call a timeout and cut the emotions and look at the stewardship of our investments, it's now. The greatest wealth transfer is happening right now. And I think it's really good to come from the perspective of I've been in real estate for 15 plus years, done 300 plus transactions. We have a hedge fund in real estate and do, $10 to $30 million size deals. But what I'm telling you is that everything is moving digital, and we've got to understand the basics. But what I also want to call to your conviction is that when you moved into the stock market, you didn't understand how each stock worked and how they were making their money exactly and how your distributions came. If you had an IRA and it was going into the mutual fund, you didn't actually understand which of the 1,000 stocks yours was in exactly and how how they actually borrowed money or leveraged. Like, you didn't understand everything. You just invested. So think about this as like, everything is moving west. If like in your neighborhood, if on a certain area of town, certain areas start dying and other areas start coming alive, and you move toward the growth because that's where the better retail is, that's where the better houses are, that's where the better roads are. So think about like in the investment world, everything's moving west. It's moving to the digital world. And this is really where the greatest wealth transfer is happening. It's happening inside cryptocurrency, and super excited to be here to talk about it.
That's so awesome. I just got back from, we were just talking backstage and just got back from Miami Bitcoin 2022, one of the largest crypto conference. And it's just incredible to see the amount of innovation. And it's almost reminds me of when I was a teenager during the internet era and just seeing, Amazon and all of these startups, and it's exponential. So it's double whatever excitement. So this is a fascinating, and we'll let you talk all about it, how you get started, and we'll go from there.
Perfect. What I want to do right now is I want to just give you an example of what's happening. Like everything is moving like the speed of light. And it's like when the post office went to a new communication 2.0 of email. And at that time period, everyone was like, why would I email? Because like I could just send a letter. And now you're like, why would I send a letter? Because I can email and I can get a response way faster. So the digital shift took place. Same thing from like Walmart to Amazon. It's this mindset of like when Amazon came out and they're like, we'll do 2-day shipping. You're like, oh, I have to wait 2 days to get deodorant and razors. I would never do that. I'll just go to Walmart. Now you're like, why would I ever go to Walmart when I can just order ahead of time and it's going to be shipped to my door? So I'm going to share how cryptocurrency is like shifting the way you think about your investments. Think about it like the mindset that the iPhone, so if that's my analogy, the iPhone is software. Someone might say like, the iPhone's actually a cell phone. Like you can make calls on it, but it's actually software. And they might say, well, but it has a camera on it. Yeah, but it's software that has utility, and the utility is a camera. Okay, so it's software. Well, Bitcoin is software. So if we understand the analogy, they're both software. And the iPhone has a platform. And on that platform is, it's called an app store. And Bitcoin has a platform called a blockchain. And the iPhone has that platform called the App Store. And in that App Store, there's actual utility. There's actual businesses that are now like icons on your phone that you can click into, and it turns into a actual resource. So maybe it's a medical app, or it's a healthcare app, or it's a fitness app, or it's a spiritual app, or it's Excel spreadsheets, or a morning routine app or something. But you're paying money to most of those apps for their service. Okay. So that makes the value of Apple more valuable because the platform has businesses and people have had adoption and they're using those businesses. So just like that, Bitcoin is that software, and it has a platform called a blockchain, and there's businesses on that blockchain, on that platform. And so the adoption is happening where it's shifting everything onto this digital platform. And the utility of these little businesses could be a system that allows voting to be completely accurate. And you can only vote if you actually have a actual identity in a digital form. And maybe it's healthcare. There's tons of healthcare businesses that are ran on the blockchain. And it could be title records. Like everything in real estate is moving into cryptocurrency. It's moving into the blockchain technology. So now I could buy a house through the blockchain, and the escrow would be held on the blockchain in a smart contract, and the title companies will disappear. Eventually, there'll be no title companies. The courthouse won't be where real estate records, like the warranty deeds, are held. Everything will be on the blockchain. Everything is moving there. So this is not like theory. This is already happening. Everything is shifting. Wages will eventually all be held on the blockchain. So through smart contracts. What does that mean? You just have to understand that payroll services, they'll be obsolete. Everything will be done in smart contracts that have software running them. and people will clock in and clock out, and payment will happen through the system without a payroll company. So everything is moving that direction. And you and I want to be on the stewardship, like the wise steward who's investing in places where everything is going. The reason why that's so important is because inflation is now about 15%. So you now can't think like, well, I'm making double digits. I'm making 10% or 12% in my real estate or something. You've got to start thinking, I have to outpace inflation. I've got to be making more money. And if, for those of you who are in the stock market, I mean, like, I think it's pretty, and we can talk candid, like the stock markets will be a dead decade. All the economists are on the same page. It's a dead decade moving forward. Like the stock market is done. 25% of the S&P are what we call zombie companies. They can't even pay their debt service. So everything is moving to the digital form, and you and I want to be on the cutting edge of it. And so in our hedge fund, we have a proprietary portfolio strategy where we allow you to invest in, and it's just a turnkey system, just like you'd have turnkey passive income in real estate. This is a turnkey system where you can actually ride that wave and create massive wealth in cryptocurrency. And when you understand that if your dollars are being stored in your savings account that you're making from real estate, those dollars are dying because they're in the US dollar. So inflation's going up 15%, which means if you had $100, for just an easy example, you're losing 15% of that if it sits there for a year. The next year. So in 3 years, you've lost almost 50% of the value of all your investment if it's in the US dollar. So we're moving all your money into cryptocurrency where you can have, one, a storehold of wealth, and two, grow your value. One thing else that you spoke to, Christopher, that I think is so important is, security. Security is massive. Even our credit cards, I've had to close down 2 credit cards and get new cards because there's fraud on my credit cards. And that's the beauty of cryptocurrency and the blockchains, is that everything is so much more secure than a debit card, a credit card, the US dollar. And so I'm going to just name a few things. There's two-factor authentication. So some of you guys have seen that before, where they, on certain, maybe an app or something, where they send you a message, and then you've got to be able to put that into something and also have access to the same email. It makes it so difficult for people to take something from you. So there's that, and there's facial recognition. So when you actually hold your cryptocurrency, no one could actually do anything with it or take it from you unless you were actually able to be there with your phone and then have all the access codes that are tied to it. So it's the safest method of actually investing. It's safer than anything else you could actually do. It's more stable. Bitcoin, you could see Bitcoin as like a digital bank, or like digital gold. Like a physical gold is like the dinosaur. That's the old way of thinking. But the digital gold is actually the storehold of wealth. So big picture, we've got to be moving everything west. We've got to be changing the way we think. We've got to be recalibrating and realizing our old way of thinking is not going to actually help you and help you have prosperity moving forward.
That's so well said. And so before we talk about, a little bit of the work that you're doing with Boron Capital, so I know a lot of people so a lot of like millennials, Gen Z, they get it. Crypto gaming, it makes sense. For a lot of the older population here, I'll just list some of the common myths and we can discuss those. So one, they say, okay, crypto is a used for illicit activity. We can go, and then second is crypto is a scam, and then third is that crypto is so volatile. Why would I ever want to do that? So if you want to talk about some of the most common objections and how, try to correct some of these misconceptions.
Yeah, love that. So let's talk about volatility. So if that's you, if you've had that type of thought line, I mean, you're not alone. That's the natural thought line of even Ray Dalio. So Ray Dalio owns Bridgewater Associates, and it's the largest hedge fund in the world. And in 2017, Ray said, so it's a bubble. It's not an effective storehold of wealth because it has volatility, unlike gold. However, fast forward in 2021, he has shifted his entire way of thinking. And now he says, personally, I'd rather hold Bitcoin than a bond. Now, this is so drastic because 40% of Ray's entire portfolio, the largest hedge fund in the world, 40% was in the bond market. And in 2020, he got crushed. And now, obviously, the bond market is a dead decade. You'll literally make more money being out of the bond market than in it just by removing yourself from it. Like, he would say that he was the king of the bond market, and now he's literally had to shift his entire portfolio strategy because it was 40%. So the reality is the big names are now seeing that. I mean, Mark Cuban was the same way. He was Mark Cuban, owner of the Mavericks, a billionaire. He had made very clear, it's a scam, it's volatile, it's unstable. But then now, that was in 2017. Now in 2020, now in 2022, he just came out. Mark Cuban said, I'm investing 75% of every new dollar I make into cryptocurrency. So you have these massive voices who held strong opinions, and unfortunately, they had strong opinions because they just were ignorant in the big picture. So volatility is like the perspective that one's seeing it in is in like a hour by hour trading. And so what you and I have got to realize is, what does volatile really mean? Like, if something loses 1% a month and it has certainty to keep losing over 1% a month, is that volatile? Yeah, I think that's quite volatile. Like, it's not providing me certainty in a good way. It's providing me certainty in a bad way. Well, that's the US dollar. Mm-hmm. It's 15% certainty. There's no way around it. It won't quit. It's going to go down in value 15%. Now, the big picture is Argentina. That's how they have it now, a $10 million dollar, is because the inflation's so big. You have to take a wheelbarrow of their cash to go to the grocery store because it's so worthless. So it's a change of perspective. And again, I'll just say one more thing on volatility. Bitcoin has gone from one single penny is when it became public. One single penny to 40 to 45,000 is what we're sitting at now per coin. So that's over a 20 million% up and to the right. So if you look at the chart, it's always up and to the right. So the perspective shifts. The dollar has never provided that kind of value. It's been going down in value since 1971. So a couple of big points really help us on perspective.
It's just amazing because the way I perceive it is, crypto, because if you have a 10-year, 20-year span horizon, a sudden like 20%, especially crypto, is really volatile. But if you have a 20-year perspective and it's always up and to the right, it's almost a sure bet. So, you get in at acceptable price levels and, price levels you can afford to lose or, you're okay with. And then you just sit and hold. And, the more volatile it gets, the lower it goes, you buy more. So you just accumulate on your position. So that's how I think of it. But just like people, they don't realize the dollar is just losing value every day. And they're like, okay, but then they're like, okay with it. And Fed printing trillions, or taxes going up, debt's going up. And they don't say, it's like, oh, that's okay. But then crypto is like, and it's like, people are like, oh, freaking out, oh, 10%, 20%. It's like, and then there's no perspective. So
yeah, perspective is so powerful. And so for those of you who are like, but when's it going to quit being volatile? Okay, well, that's a great question. So when you actually make a cruise line, when you make the ship bigger, it actually becomes less volatile on the water. So my quick story, I was on my honeymoon in 2007, and it was a very small ship. And because it was a small ship, like during dinner, we hit some rough water, and it was being thrown around, tossed around. But as the ship gets bigger, so fast forward, we go on another cruise. So instead of a 900 person capacity, this one has, 5,500 person capacity, like 3 football fields long and a football field wide. You're like, okay, well, it literally doesn't move on the water at all. The water's getting thrown around by the ship because it has so much authority. So when Bitcoin holds out 45% of the market cap of all crypto, as the adoption continues to happen in the utility side, then it becomes wider and wider and wider. And so we're looking currently low, it ebbs and flows around 2 trillion in market cap for all crypto. But if you understand what that really means, it's so small in the grand scheme, because you have, for the storehold of wealth market, it holds less than 1% of Bitcoin holds less than 1% of the entire market. So when institutional adoption happens, which we're looking at 12 to 24 months, you're going to drop, a good 10, 15 trillion into it. If they just put 1 to 5% of their entire portfolio into cryptocurrency. So when that money drops in, it stabilizes drastically. The key is you want to get into the investments before it stabilizes, not after it stabilizes. So it shifts the way you think. I have people all the time who the writing's on the wall, Chris, and they're like, okay, my IRA, I'm going to lose a 10 or 15% fee just by getting out because I'm not 59 and a half. But they say, but it's worth it because in your hedge fund, you're making way stronger returns. So I would rather take the hit and go jump in. And I mean, we don't have a crystal ball, and obviously everything has risk, and I'm not an advisor in any way, shape, or form, but our management's been able to create 3-digit returns. So guys, that's 188 to 312% over the last 2 years. And so you could call that volatile, but it's not volatile when you can have the results. So one big thing to think about is like strong returns don't equal strong risk. A lot of times now the model has flipped because we're in unconventional events, like unconventional world events make us be a good steward with unconventional strategies. And right now the stock market is actually a larger risk for a lower payout, or the bond market is a larger risk at a lower payout, or gold, larger risk. Why is it a larger risk? Because you're still tied to a system that you can't do anything with the gold. Inflation is at 15% and you have to outpace that. And gold is not clearly doing that. So volatility is something that will stabilize over time, but you want to get in to something before it stabilizes.
Awesome. We could have a masterclass and workshop, and we'd love to have you on as a guest on future podcasts. Tell us a little bit about Boron Capital, how people can find out more about you. I know a lot of people may be interested, so tell us all about your fund.
Yeah, so it's for accredited investors only, and we'd love to help you though. If you aren't accredited, again, you can still text the link, get the masterclass for free, and we'd love to serve you in that way. But our minimum is 250,000, and we hold a portfolio strategy with a blend of cryptocurrencies that have a strong position, and then Bitcoin itself. And we have a team full time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week that actually monitors. One thing people don't understand is cryptocurrency, it never sleeps. So like the stock market, that the trading time stops. Cryptocurrency doesn't stop. It's 24/7. So we take really good care of our clients. And I think the last thing I would just say is like, you need something that can weather the storm. You need something that can build on itself and have perpetual growth. You need something that's certain that you can actually, that you're being a good steward. And we believe confidently that cryptocurrency is the future. We've put our time, our energy into serving the physician crowd because it's so important for you. Those who have worked your whole entire life, you've worked so hard to build wealth. And I've talked to too many physicians who say, I'm really good at making money. I'm just terrible at keeping it. So we don't want you just to keep it. We want you to thrive in making it. And we'd love to serve you at Boron Capital.
Awesome. Bitcoin, crypto, it's the future. And how can people get a hold of you?
Yeah, so the best way would be through texting the word invest to 877-771-0615. You can also go to our website, Boron Cap. So it's for Boron Capital, but it's www.boroncap.com, boroncap.com. And man, we're excited. This is the wealth transfer. If you've ever heard about there is one, it's coming. It was going to be this. It's this. This is it. It's happening right before your eyes. Yeah. And we'd love for you to get on the bandwagon for it.
Awesome. Such a fantastic episode. We're going to have, future episodes, master classes, workshops. So Blake, thanks so much. And we'll see you next time.
Very good. Look forward to being on again.
What a fantastic show. I hope you enjoyed our very special guest. Just remember, as a shout out to our this week's sponsor, CityVest.com. CityVest gives you access to the best real estate private equity funds with enhanced investment terms, verified due diligence, and lower risk. You can check them out at cityvest.com or click on the link in the show notes below to hear about their upcoming investment offerings. I'm excited that you made it for another episode. You are truly the best. If you've been following the show for a while, you know that my passion is to bring you the education you need to find your path to financial freedom. Please come back week after week for new content, new resources, and great guests. Until then, if you haven't already, please be sure to check out the website, www.drchrislewmdphd.com for more support. I'll see you next week.